top 3 AI companies that are in the defense sector. If you guys enjoy, make sure to hit the like button and do consider subscribing. Let's get into it. So we have 3 stocks. I'm just going to tell you from the beginning what the stocks are, and then we're going to go through an analysis for each one of them. So there is a 7-step analysis that we'll be performing for. Number 1 is Big Bear AI. Number 2 is Palantir. And then number 3 is Castellum Inc, CTM. Now, for Big Bear AI, let's break it down. We just entered a trade at the end of this last week, and we ended up making about $475 profit on this position. But to clarify, we also have longer term positions in our Charles Schwab portfolio. This is our Robinhood portfolio and where we trade Robinhood. Now, if you ever want to watch us trade these live each day at market open, we go live on Monday and there's a huge sale right now. Just check the second link in the description to join us. And I'd love to see you inside. Now, most people, they miss the real move with these AI companies because they don't know what signs to look for. But inside of our live sessions, we break it down in real time. And if you want to stop guessing and start trading with clarity, check the second link in the description again and join us. We're live there every day at market open and you're invited. And it doesn't matter what platform you're trading on or investing with, Big Bear AI is making some waves. There's a 7-step analysis I want to go through. And the first step is the markets. They are in the defense sector. As we know, the defense sector is growing tremendously. They are in AI decision making. So not only are they in government defense, they also are in manufacturing, warehouse, as well as healthcare and life sciences. This is a market that is growing very fast and still seeing large amounts of investment from not just government, but private sectors as well that are leading to using AI and tech to optimize much of the defense and sometimes military, in this case, mostly in the AI space of intelligence and widespread overview of the different entry points in the US, which we'll get into. But again, market is growing. It's expected to grow by billions of dollars per year. So definitely in a growing market. So that's number 1. Second is their usage in the market. Some people say there's these defense companies and they cover them, but in reality, they're not actually having contracts that are seeing firsthand usage or really making an impact. And therefore, they're not actually being used. A good example is a market that was deteriorating like NFTs. It's like everybody's talking about them. It seems like it's growing, but the actual usage wasn't seeing usage. So that's why we look at usage. So when it comes to usage, I was just flying at the airport, for example, Denver International, where they were scanning my face and they had the Big Bear AI logo. They have partnerships with different airports, including Denver, Heathrow. They're also at the borders as well for processing large amounts of people that come in and out of the US. And they have the facial scanning technology, as well as predictive analytics for scanning just actual geographic locations. Like in this case, it's a port. So I've seen them firsthand, so I know that they're being used, and I see that their contracts are turning into real world usage. So for that reason, we have them at really good market indication of growth. Number 3, it brings us into the analysis section. So that comes down to the chart. And then step number 4 is going to be the news. And step number 5 is going to be the financials. So let's start off with the chart here. As you can see, it's recently pushed up quite a bit. It's nearing this resistance at around $3.80, which is a pretty strong level. We actually have some charts already marked out. As you can see, before this, it was funny. We actually had a trend and we said, is this a breakout? If it does, and it broke out. So now we have new levels we're looking at. Simply put, these are support and resistance levels. So right now you can see there's a support here, and then there's this overall uptrend. There's a resistance here, which was acting as a support. And then now there's a resistance at $3.80. That's a level at which it just got kind of rejected. And you can see it's sold down to about $3.40 as of recently. And now we're saying, is this previous resistance and support that we've seen here going to act as a support right now to keep it there? That would be hyper bullish. So that's how the chart looks. What might be more likely in a bullish scenario, but still a little more conservative, could be a sell down to this previous resistance that's also acted as a support. You can see there, right there at about $3.15. So maybe we see it break or hold this as a hyper bullish play, and that would be quite good. As you saw, it's up 19% in one day. We were able to catch that swing along with a lot of other traders and investors in our stock meet community. If you guys ever want to watch me trade live, it's that second link in the description, and you can join us there Monday at market open and watch me trade live as soon as Monday. So when it comes to this move, we traded it and we've now been monitoring it to see if it holds hyper bullish. So again, we'll see if it holds there hyper bullish or if it sells back down a little more conservatively to that $3 range. It might all happen in one move, and that's how the chart looks. So it would make sense that it would do that, but if it continues up, the next level would be up here in this $5 range, which could be a tremendous move for Big Bear. And if that happens, it's about a 36% increase, so quite the margin for profit. And then in the extreme bull case that we see previous highs that we saw just back in February, be about a 200% increase from current prices. So not saying that's going to happen. In fact, I think there's a little more risk that we're looking at right now, as it's looking more on the overextended side. So you can see it is overextended right now, just according to the MACD and the RSI, and it might make sense that it sells back down here. And I wouldn't necessarily look for this continuation until it kind of sells back down and get more confirmation there. So that's how the chart looks. When it comes to the news for Big Bear AI, as we kind of went into just a little bit on some of their automation and their technology that they offer to different partners, you can head over to their investor side of things here. Take a look at their recent news. Latest news was on April 24th. They announced a USA next-gen submarine construction using AI. That's pretty interesting. Apparently they have a shipbuilding software platform, Shipyard AI, to streamline shipbuilding capacity planning, maximizing efficiency and cost savings. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, it must be maybe some sort of AI powered, considering all of the, they have access to some levels of clearance for how ships are built, I would imagine, and they're able to then leverage that access to build a large language model. In this case, it says, AI machine learning powered heavy manufacturing planning and production platform. So they're basically saying, let's build a ChatGPT, maybe it's even run on a form of ChatGPT that helps them plan and build faster. And that could be good. I mean, they don't ask as many questions. I personally use ChatGPT. I'm literally, right when I'm done with this video, I'm going to be going up to an apartment that we're renting out in about a week. And I have to finish building it, like the floors, doing some stuff there. I actually got my dad up there helping out, and he's been rocking right now. So that's why. Anyway, I use ChatGPT all the time. I look at it, I'm like, hey, what can I do here for the trim or for the floors? Or here's a photo of it. Can you show me what it would look like if it was this? And those are things that could be helpful. So anyway, good news. I would say overall they're getting good contracts. They got a couple $150 million contracts. They got a $160 million Army contract. They have the CEO who's part of Secretary of Defense, was acting Secretary of Defense, and he's got a company that was bought by Big Bear a while back related to national security. So I think they're in a really good place. I'd like to go deeper, but overall it looks like they're just getting these confirmations of their technology works. And I got to see it firsthand when we went to the airport. Big Bear AI's news, and then you got the financials. If you take a look at BBAI stock, the financials just surpassed $1 billion in market cap. They're basically compared to companies of Palantir, for example. They recently paid down a lot of their debts, which is why they had a large negative net income here. But take a look at the revenue, increasing revenue quarter over quarter by a couple million here and there. And we'll see they got some contracts since their last earnings. I would imagine that this next earnings might also see a revenue increase. And in the instance that it does, and the net income does not look as negative because they recently paid down a lot of debt, so they won't have as much to pay down potentially in this next earnings, then that would put them in a favorable spot to grow. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, when it comes to we got through all those steps. Now we got steps 6 and 7, which are the margin for profit. So essentially, we'll be watching to hold this $3.45 range. The risk right now is a little bit up there. If you were to get into a short-term trade, there is a 10% downside that I could see as potentially happening here in the near term, if not even more conservatively, a 17% downturn there, as it would make sense. That's not just going to shoot straight up, and it would have a correction potentially before continuing up. Now, that's about 10% risk. When it comes to maybe waiting and then getting in this case, from here, 20% upside would be the potential from there. So 20% upside. If it sells back down, if we're looking at it and you're saying I'm okay with weathering some of that storm, if it sells off 5% or 10% here and I'm getting in right now, the next level up there is about 5%. So you can see that's about 5% to there, 6% to that previous resistance. And then if we see it break out even further, the bull case would be up here in this $4.70 range. So that's a profit, about 35, as we mentioned earlier, about 36% profit that we could potentially see here in the near term. But it does have to break up above this previous resistance, but that's kind of the margins for profit and where we'd manage our risk. Honestly, if we start to see it sell back down here or even down here, it'd be a conservative approach, but that's part of the risk of looking at it when it's this overextended right now. So that's the full breakdown for Big Bear AI. We'll most likely be trading it at market open if you guys ever want to be there. It is the second link in the description to watch me trade live. Let's get into number 2. Number 2 is Palantir. We're going to keep it quick as there's millions and millions of articles on Palantir, and you've probably heard a lot about the company. But my 2 cents on Palantir, currently they look a little overextended. I think that they're up quite a bit to about $113, and I could see them potentially sell back down at least into this $100 range. We're starting to see this previous resistance at around $95 really get tested quite often, seeing that support, that resistance, and it did just break above, and then it retested it, so that's kind of bullish. But again, looking at the overall trend, if we don't account for this huge upswing right here, kind of looking at it this way, it does seem that it has more of an overextension. If you look at the RSI and MACD, that it could sell down. Markets growing, so those are the things. Markets growing, usage definitely happening. They're actually partnered with Big Bear AI, and they're partnered with a lot of companies. They even work with not just the same type of government agencies, Palantir, but they also work with healthcare as well, and they're more involved. Big Bear AI would like to be as involved as Palantir, because Palantir has $100 million contracts plus with hospitals like Boston Hospital. Those are really awesome. Essentially, Palantir allows for you to process large amounts of data and then be able to make decisions. So my favorite is that Palantir with Boston Hospital, because they now make it to where the booking of doctors and the scheduling of doctors is perfectly correlated to be the best possible doctor at the best time for the exact type of patient that doctor should be scheduled with. So essentially, AI knows it. AI selects where the patients should be, what beds they should be. It knows when they need to leave, what medications they should be getting. It knows when the doctors should be there, and it schedules the doctors automatically, and it can anticipate scheduling conflicts or things like that way in the future. So not near, but way in the future. So Palantir has an advantage there. So market growing. When it comes to the analysis of charts and the news and the financials, let's start with the financials on Palantir. PLTR, if I'm not mistaken, they are more of a cash cow. They got 264 billion, so about 250 times bigger than Big Bear. You can see their revenue is about not that much. It's about 20 times. Is that right? No, 40 times bigger than that of, no, 20 times. 20 times bigger than that of Big Bear. And you could see that their market cap is, again, their market cap is about 200 times bigger than Big Bear, but their revenue is only about um, 40 times bigger than Big Bear. So that kind of makes you question, quarter over quarter, Palantir had 100 million in revenue, 134 million in revenue, 143 million in revenue, and then end of quarter 2024, quarter four, they had 79 million in revenue. So they did see a drop in revenue there, and they're really only doing it $30 million more in the same revenue and not net income. They're doing $30 million more than Big Bear is in revenue. So it's really not a huge gap when you look down to the financials. But then again, I think Big Bear they've had some negatives. But the reason I say that is because you look at their revenue, they're beating revenue, they're beating earnings per share quarter over quarter. Their revenue's up 36% year over year. But when you take a look at that net income, it did recently have quite the drop. So that's why I have them at number two. I think that they are going to continue to grow and they could be a good company. But right now, I see them as quite overextended. I could even see them going down to this $82 range. But I'd really like to see them in the long term. And I think that in the long term, they're going to exceed these levels. But it's just right now, like this is the type of swing. If we see it sell back down to that level, these are the types of swings we like to play. Like, for example, that's a 58% swing it had recently. Before that, it had a swing of about 40%. Right here had a swing of about 89%. So, it's not new to volatility. It has volatility quite often, but those are the types of swings we're looking for. That's why we have it there. So again, financials, they look good. They look fine. They're bringing in cash. Is it as much to justify the $250 million market cap? Maybe, maybe not. I would imagine that they're going to have to see more of a net income increase and not decrease there in order to hold that type of revenue or that type of market cap. So again, financials, I would say is a hold to potentially a sell if their net income doesn't improve. Because 79 million on a $250 billion market cap is a little absurd. So you have to look at that. When it comes to the news of Palantir news, there's a lot of news you could look at. These are valuation is blind to warning signs. So somebody else is saying, yeah, that's a little interesting. But the reason that you would look at this company and say, I would buy what could be, is because they are partnered with companies like, for example, they're partnered with companies like Big Bear. I really like to look at their platform. It's quite beautiful to see. And then you have defense. They have contracts really all over the place with defense. They even have tariffs and looking at tariffs and distributions and how that's calculated. They have maximizing builder leverage. And that guy low-key looks like Sam Bankman-Fried. That's funny. And they have how they connect different, in this case, looks like agent. They're using an agent to identify, explore, compile, execute. They have a lot of AI-driven decisions in critical government and commercial enterprises in the West, from the factory floors to the front lines. Very similar to that of Big Bear AI. And I could see that you can see they're working on prompt engineering and things like that. But again, it seems like they're doing quite well. You see some of the companies they got, L3 Harris, they're in space. You got General Mills, you got AARP. You got a lot of them saying that their impact was improving their revenues. So they're able to directly improve their revenues, which is good. So they're helping a lot of companies make a ton of money. And that's the type of movement that would drive the agencies and different companies they work with to new levels. So that's why you also see this. I love that. You got the hospital beds. That's Tampa General. That's a different hospital. But that impact study, I would encourage you guys to take a look at the impact study of how their AI is plugging in and making a difference in a lot of these places. There's a lot of clarity that they provide on their website financial news, you get back to the chart. So we're on step 5. And the chart looks overextended. Not really much for me to say there other than it looks overextended, and that sell-off could be imminent down to that $97 range unless we see a hyperbole case. In that case, just a lot of risk. So getting into the profit margins, step 6 and 7, the profit margins right now are pretty limited based on past patterns is really what we could work off here. From here to previous highs would be about a 10% increase. That's a margin for profit. The sell-off potential in its current trend looks like about 15 to 20%, and that's more risk than that of the profit available. So for that reason, I wouldn't be buying them right now, but I have them on my list because they're one of the top defense companies to be looking at in 2025, as they're one of the only companies that's truly effectively using AI. So that brings us to number 3. That's all. Step 7 is done, right? So that's the margins for profit. There's the risk, a little bit more. We get into step number 3. We got CTM stock. CTM stock, as you can see, has been on this trend. We have some positions in it. This is one of our positions. It's actually more of a swing trade that is down just a tad there. But when you look at the margins for profit, this is the type of swing that we're looking at. So we're gonna jump bigger. We're gonna jump bigger into the margin for profit. But essentially, this right here is the type of move. So let's take a look at CTM. CTM stock, from a market perspective, is also in the government and defense, and they particularly work in government and defense. If you take a look at their website, they have the Oasis Plus and the IDIQ contract. Are they a fancy website? Not so much. But are they doing some of the same things and getting some of the same contracts as companies like Big Bear? Yes, they are. So we'll take a look here. I'm going to run through their contracts and stuff like that, but take a look. The market they're in, it's growing. Are they getting usage? They seem to be getting usage, and they also seem to be getting the same type of on-demand contracts that would give them more contracts in the future. Now, when we get into the 3-part analysis of the stock, take a look at the stock financials. They're at $1 a share, so just above penny stock level, and they are at a market cap of about 85 million. So they're under 100 million. This is where it gets kind of interesting. If you take a look at their financials, you can see they're pulling in about 1/4 that of Big Bear AI, but their net income is much less, or much more, I should say. So you look quarter over quarter, they're averaging around 10 to 11 million per quarter in revenues, and their net income is really between -1 and 3 million, which is much more favorable compared to some other companies we were just looking at. And so they're holding pretty good cash flows and profit margins with steady revenue. Last quarter was a little bit less, just about $1 million less than their average revenue. And their net income was just a little bit less as well, down to about -2. But what you can see is if they continue to get the contracts that they get, this could be really good. So overall, financials looking pretty good for their size. They're making $40-50 million a year, and their market cap is just 85 million. That's really favorable for them as a valuation standpoint, looking at the company. When it comes to their news, they have a few contracts. One that was just later in this year, February, $103 million contract for Naval Air Systems Command and Special Missions. And it's a 5.5 year contract for multiple intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and targeting programs. And they also have some focus on really processing all of the data that's coming in for the Naval Air team and being able to support them. And it says, be their prime contractor. They're privileged and honored to be an essential part of their team and to help achieve their crucial mission to ensure our nation's warfighters are armed with the most technologically advanced capabilities in the world and ensure their success. It's our remarkable team of outstanding CTM professionals who bring their needs. This win reflects our uncompromising commitment to our people. That's cool. And they say, essentially, in this contract, they are helping with the research, They're helping with the support for cybersecurity and electronic warfare, as well as software engineering services. So these are the types of things when prompt engineering becomes a conversation, when AI becomes a conversation. And they are starting to do that. So you start to see them get these contracts. They also add a professional service contract here. And they are maybe not in the same type of beauty on their website, but I could say that as they've been around a pretty long time, they're a company that's really been around since let's see, 2010. I don't even know if that's right. I think it might be even earlier. And as you can see, they have the type of market exposure that would put them at an advantage in this market. They're building and acquiring specialized capabilities in cybersecurity, electronic warfare, information warfare, and information technology. So they're a defense company and they support the US government, and you can see some of the ways that they do that. And I really like to see how they are building their contract base and how they got the Oasis Plus, which means they're on demand, ready to service the government through their company, and they're there. So you can also see that they have a subsidiary they acquired in 2023. They've been acquiring quite a few. You can see some of their history as they've changed names a few times. But I'd like to see how things play out in the near term for this company. And the market cap is so small, but they're getting like the naval air contracts, some other contracts that I believe could put them in a nice place. And so those contracts in the $100+ million range, when they're only under $100 million market cap, I could see this type of move. So the news, the financials, getting back to the chart, this level right here is what we're looking for. Really a recovery up into about $1.50. That would be a 55% increase. They recently pushed up quite a bit, up to $1 a share. And as you can see, they have this trend that's starting to develop. They continue to build their momentum. They've kind of priced in. They've had some spikes, but you see this level, and we're saying, yeah, maybe this can increase, and they have a new market cap of around 100 to 200 million, or maybe 300 million. I think that would be more aligned with the contract sizes that they're making and the revenues that they have on their balance sheet. So for that reason, we have them here. They recently pulled back. They got a little bit rejected, but they do look a tad bit overextended. If they are able to hold really above this level at about $1 a share, then we could really start to see them build momentum. They just crossed over the 200-day moving average, which indicates bullish momentum as well. I think that this is one I'm personally going to continue to trade and invest in more than some of the other ones because of the upside. But at the same time, Big Bear is a little bit ahead. They're number one because of the real world use that I get to see firsthand. This company, I love to see the balance sheets, but they don't have the same real world use that I'm able to see firsthand. And so that makes me slightly more uncertain. But I really like to see the patterns, as it's been quite consistent. And this recent cross over this 200-day moving average means this type of upside with little downside. Right now we're here. This is kind of the level. Maybe we see it sell down back to even 90 cents, but the downside seems to be a lot smaller here than the upside potential. And that's why we're looking at it for potential trade this week. We'll see if any opportunities present themselves. And if they do, you could be there as well and watch me trade live. If you are eager to learn and stop guessing and start trading and surround yourself with like-minded individuals, it's the second link in the description. That's StockMate. We go live there every morning. The only time we haven't gone live is when I was on an airplane. I wasn't able to do it. And I've been sick like a few times, but that's over the past 6 months. However, I love the markets. I've been getting up for months. A couple months ago, back in November, I decided I'm going to do the markets every single day. And that's what I've done. And we started StockMates. Since then, we've grown to hundreds of members that are all really getting amazing results and telling me some really good stuff. And they tune in. We got dozens of people every morning that are there live watching my entries, watching my exits, and you get to see how we trade and invest. Now, some of you guys might say, That's pretty valuable, but what about the fact that you offer lifetime access? Well, I do offer lifetime access, and it's something I always look at personally anyways. I love to look at the markets. So for that reason, I'm confident in offering it. I don't know if it's going to be 100 years, but I definitely feel confident in the next year, 2, 5 years that I'll be there every single morning at market open. And if you ever want to see that, you want to get a taste, right now, you can get in, and there is a lifetime access, one-time payment. It's not a subscription or anything like that. And you can simply take a look at the second link down below if you're interested. Got a huge sale there, and it's not going to get better than this. So I would love for you guys to join us there at market open on Monday. And again, it's the second link below. If I earned your thumbs up, hit that like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.